A popular bar in downtown Buffalo is back in business tonight. The Lodge was shut down last week after a party turned violent and spilled onto Chippewa Street and Delaware. The city says the bar can reopen, but there are changes you should know about.
Officials say they'll check back on the owners after 60 days. News 4's Marissa Perlman has more on the new rules from Chippewa Street.
It's business as usual this evening for the Lodge Bar and Restaurant here on Chippewa Street in downtown Buffalo. The general manager of the restaurant says he's been able to strike a deal with the city yesterday afternoon. So they'll reopen tonight, but not without some restrictions from the city.
I think we have sent a very clear message that bars and restaurants, nightclubs have to be responsible for their operation.
Mayor Byron Brown says the Lodge will now have to close every night at 11 p.m. and no third-party promoter events will be allowed, at least for now.
We'll be looking at the operation of the business during that period of time, making sure that they meet the conditions that have been set, that they have agreed to.
The Lodge was hosting a promoter party last Sunday where everyone wore all white. More than 150 people spilled out onto Chippewa and Delaware Street, and then a fight broke out. At one point, shots were fired. Police say there were known gang members who entered the bar that night.
Based on the investigation by our police department, that this action was warranted and that the establishment should be held responsible for what began on the inside of the establishment and spilled outside of the establishment into the streets of the city of Buffalo.
Mayor Brown says the Lodge realizes it could have acted differently that night. That's why they were able to come to negotiate this agreement.
This was the first incident of this type involving the Lodge, and that's why they are being allowed to reopen by the city.
He says businesses should have ID checks to know who's entering their establishment and to make sure people are of age. We reached out to General Manager of the Lodge, Matthew Krupp. He released this statement saying, "We reached an agreement with the city and are thrilled to be open again." These restrictions will be in place for 60 days. The mayor says the city will be monitoring the Lodge's operations during that time period. Reporting on Chippewa Street in downtown Buffalo, Marissa Perlman, News 4.